Was Matthew Perry's death really an accident, or are we being told a carefully thought-out lie to hide something worse? Picture this. A once favorite global star, like Chandler from Friends, was discovered dead in his hot tub. The official story says the person drowned and then took too much ketamine. But what if the truth is hidden by Hollywood secrets, sketchy doctors, and a crime network that is making money off of his pain? Another twist has to do with a movie starring Julia Roberts that was made by Barack Obama.
A number of people have been arrested in connection with the drug overdose death of Friends star Matthew Perry.
When Matthew Perry's death in October of last year was officially ruled an accident by LA County's medical examiner. But once officials found out that his death was caused in part because of a ketamine overdose, it became a criminal investigation. And today, 9 months later, several people have been arrested, presumably those who provided the Friends star with the ketamine, a prescription drug primarily intended for use as anesthesia in humans and pets. It's also used in smaller doses to treat depression and anxiety. Perry was receiving ketamine infusions, but not the week he died, and not in the quantity that was found in his system, according to the medical examiner, which was reportedly enough as if he had been under anesthesia. The medical examiner believes that because of that, he lost consciousness in his jacuzzi at his Pacific Palisades home, eventually going underwater and drowning. Now, off-market, ketamine is known as a club drug, which causes people to disassociate from reality. It can even cause amnesia and has been linked to sexual assaults. Today's operation, the arrests, involves the LAPD and federal agencies, including the U.S. Attorney's Office, the DEA, and the U.S. Postal Service. And in just over an hour, we're going to be learning more from them on the arrests, which sources tell us may even include that of a doctor.
Guys, get ready to be shocked by the ideas, the questions, and the contradictions that will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about Matthew Perry's sad death. No, folks, we're not going to end here. The death of the Friends star is not as clear-cut as the news stories make it seem. We are going to look at the official story about Matthew Perry's death on October 28, 2023, with a very suspicious eye today. Why? The story stinks, and the more you look into it, the more you find lies, abuse, and unsolved questions. This is about a man who fought to stay sober, only to be surrounded by vultures who reportedly gave him ketamine. Plans, receipts, crazy, ideas, and a story twist that will blow your mind are all on the way. Let's solve this mystery together, so get a coffee and click like. Guys, stay put for this one. It will make you question everything. First, let's look at what they want us to think. Matthew Perry, the sarcastic heart of Friends, was found dead in his hot tub in Pacific Palisades on October 28, 2023. He was 54 years old. According to the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner, it was an accident. The acute effects of ketamine were the main cause, but drowning and coronary artery disease also played a role. Also involved was some kind of drug used to treat opioid abuse. The autopsy report came out in December 2023 and showed that Matthew's blood had amounts of ketamine that were the same as what is used for general anesthesia during surgery. This was a lot higher than what his reported ketamine infusion therapy for depression could have explained. Ketamine has a half-life of only 3 to 4 hours, so his last legal treatment was more than a week ago. How does he get such a huge amount into his body? The doctor said it was just an accident. But the numbers don't add up, and the story sounds like it was put together quickly for the public to read. Perry had been open about his long fight with addiction for decades, but people who knew him well said he had been clean for 19 months. So why did he start to drown in ketamine all of a sudden? This is where things get messy, so let's break up. The schedule. Late in September 2023, Perry is said to have gotten in touch with Dr. Mark Chavez, a doctor in San Diego, and Dr. Salvador Plasencia, a doctor in Santa Monica, through Kenneth Iwamasa, who works for Perry full-time. That sounds like how you say it. Anyway, court records that were made public in August 2024, paint a very scary picture. Along with Javine Sangha, who was known as the ketamine queen, and a friend named Eric Fleming, these guys set up a large criminal network that gave Perry over $50,000 worth of ketamine in just a few weeks. Plasencia met with Iwamasa on September 30th and showed him how to shoot Perry. He then took $4,500 in cash from Iwamasa. Over the next month, Iwamasa is said to have shot Perry several times, sometimes with Plasencia's help, while Sangha and Fleming brought ketamine vials to Perry's house. Iwamasa gave Perry 3 ketamine injections by the time he died on October 28th, one at 8:30 a.m., one at 12:45 p.m., and the last one at 1:30 p.m., after Perry allegedly said, "Shoot me up with a big one." After running some chores for hours, Iwamasa came back and found Perry lying face down in a hot tub. He was dead. 5 people were charged, and 3 of them admitted guilt. But the question begs, how did a man who was sober fall so far and so fast while his assistant and doctors watched? The evidence is what turns this story from sad to angry. According to court documents, Plasencia texted Perry and said, "I wonder how much this will pay," and that their business was like a bad movie. Guys, this wasn't medical care. It was a scam. Plasencia is said to have even lied on Perry's medical records in early 2024 to make it look like he had a real treatment plan. He did this to avoid getting caught by the feds. When news of Perry's death came out, Sangha, the ketamine queen, told Fleming to delete all of our texts. If it was just an accident, why the lie? The hot tub did not have any illegal drugs or items related to them. However, Perry's blood was full of ketamine. The U.S. Postal Inspection Service was also involved in the case, which suggests that drugs or money were sent through the mail. This wasn't a mistake that happened by accident. It was planned. Who else knew? Who didn't see? And why was Matthew Perry, who said he had been sober for 19 months, with people who were helping him fail? Is there more going on than this? Now we need to look into the different ideas about how Perry died, since calling it an accident seems like a cheap way out. To begin, could it have been a self-delete? Perry's autobiography, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, which came out in 2022, was a brutal look at his battles with addiction. He started drinking when he was 14, took Vicodin after a jet ski accident in 1997, and was so high on opioids that his colon burst open in 2018. He was honest in his writing about how he felt like he had no chance of beating his problems. His last Instagram post, which he made a few days before he died, showed him in the hot tub and said, "Oh, so warm water swirling around makes you feel good." I'm crazy. What did madman mean? A call for help? A nod at the story he was writing? Or maybe something much worse? A lot of people have questions, and a lot of them say the official story is completely false. You already know that this decision they tried to make by accident doesn't make sense. People said Perry was fine, though. He played pickleball, made plans for a foundation to help people heal from addiction, and agreed to be in a new movie called Unworthy. So what would make a man who had hope and work decide to end it all? Or did the people around him push him to the edge? Now is the time to bring in Barack Obama and Julia Roberts. I know it sounds crazy, but stay with me. In the 1990s, Matthew Perry and Julia Roberts dated, but it was only for 6 months, from 1995 to 1996. This is something that many people don't know. They met quickly after she appeared as a guest star on Friends in the episode called The One After the Super Bowl. Perry wooed her with 30 roses and a card that said, "The only thing more exciting than the prospect of you doing the show is that I finally have an excuse to send you flowers." He did this in Perry's memoir. A lot of guys used to flirt by fax or email, so that's what they did. But anyway,
Julia Roberts speaks out on the passing of her ex, Matthew Perry. The Oscar winner opens up about her brief stint on Friends and the tragic loss of Matthew in an interview with Entertainment Tonight published December 4th. She addresses Perry's death, telling the outlet, "The sudden passing of anybody so young is heartbreaking. I think that, it just helps all of us to just appreciate what we have and to keep going in a positive way as best we can."
Now, Julia Roberts agreed to do the Friends appearance, but only if she would be paired with Chandler. Perry's autobiography says that he sent her a quantum physics explanation, which she asked for jokingly, and that he filmed to seal the deal. They were really together. Now, Perry finally broke up with her because he felt unsafe. It was too much for him to date Julia Roberts, he said. "I was sure she was going to break up with me all the time."
Of her time on Friends and working with the cast, she says, "They were all so welcoming to me as just a kind of a one-off character, and it was a really fun time." Julia starred as a childhood classmate of Perry's character Chandler Bing on the 1996 episode, The One After the Super Bowl.
So listen, how many times am I going to have to touch you on the arm before you ask me on a date?
Well, let's try one more. There you go, St. Ernie's, 8 o'clock.
Yeah. And who knows, if things go well, maybe this time I'll get to see your underwear.
No one was around to hear that?
In an interview with Entertainment Tonight in 2023, Julia Roberts said that his death was heartbreaking and praised the whole Friends group for being so nice to her. Now, people who are close to her say that she felt embarrassed and upset by the details in his memoir, but she respected his fight to stay sober. But when they weren't together, she was really upset that he was saying lies about her. You might not know this, but Julia Roberts is like an old-school star. She keeps everything very secret. The things she does let slip are either very planned or someone spilling her tea. You don't know much about her personal life, but here's the real tea. It was October 28th when Matthew Perry died. Guys, today is Julia Roberts' birthday. That is, in fact, her birthday. You might be thinking, okay, they dated in the 1990s. He died on her birthday. It makes her a little mad what he wrote about her in this book. Do you remember Julia Roberts' work over the last few years, especially in 2023? It has really, I want to say, stopped moving forward with her. They are older now, though, so she isn't as well known and doesn't get as many headlines or pictures. She will get them, but she's not as famous as she used to be. Plus, a short film called Leave the World Behind comes in. It was made by Netflix in 2023 and stars Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali, and Ethan Hawke. It came out a few weeks after Matthew Perry died. Higher Ground Productions, which is run by Barack Obama, made it. It's based on a book about a blackout. In New York, that causes chaos. It has a lot to it. Anyway, the movie is full of nods to Friends. Guys, it's not just sprinkled with it. This movie has a girl who is 13 years old. Things are blowing up. They can see it. They are at this stranger's house. There's a lot going on, but all this 13-year-old girl wants to do in 2023 is watch Friends, a show that came out 30 years ago. She can't get enough of it. I don't know any teens today who are so crazy about something that it's all they want. Until the end of the world, she doesn't smile at all during the movie. She breaks into a bunker underground and finds this DVD wall. On it, she sees Friends. So finally, it's like the last few minutes of the movie. She's been unhappy and sad the whole time because she can't watch Friends while the world ends. She finally gets it, right? She puts in the DVD. The Friends song plays for the first time. It's the only time in the whole movie that she smiles. The title song from Friends then plays at the end. But that's not this movie, and it's about a lot more than just Jennifer Aniston and Barack Obama's ties to tea. But you need to look at things from a different point of view. We were told that all the references to Matthew Perry on Friends were meant to remember him in his death. But the timing, the writing, and everything else don't make sense until you think about this. Some people think that the movie's end-of-the-world story is actually programming for a real cyber attack, and Perry's death is meant to set off the attack. There is no proof for this, but references to old friends and Obama's participation made a lot of people talk about it. And here's something you should think about. One of the things about Hollywood, we've heard this before, but it hasn't been proven, is that you have to give up something to become a star, right? When you were a star and your job ends, what do you do? What should you do? Yes, it's the same. If you want to get back into Hollywood, you have to give up something that they can use against you. The press called this movie Julia Roberts' big comeback. We thought this would be her big comeback to the screen. It was a big movie back then, even though it's now on Netflix. A lot of people on TikTok think that this movie is part of a plot because of what it's about, how it was shot, and how the pictures move. There are a lot of strange things going on and meanings that are stashed away. This movie goes into a lot of detail. The road signs, shop names, and just some of the things people say may not seem to have anything to do with it at first glance. It's like one Easter egg leads to another, like those Russian dolls where pulling on the top opens more and more. It's pretty strange. Some people think that Matthew Perry was some kind of offering, but there is no proof for this. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense at all to put friends into this movie. As I already said, there's a connection between Jennifer Aniston and Barack Obama. I wrote about it when I broke that news last year. Oh, and there's also the Matthew Perry thing. The day that Julia Roberts was born is the same day that Matthew Perry died. Today, some might see this as an accident, while others might see it as a plot. For now,
In a December 4th visit to The View, Julia also recalled the episode.
You had a famous appearance on there in 1996.
The Super Bowl episode.
Yes. Now, as you know, Matthew Perry has recently passed. Do you have a favorite memory you could share with us of your time at Friends?
Well, I am such a football fanatic. This is something not a lot of people know, but yesterday when I was still working when the 49ers were playing, and I was like, anybody got an update? And there was always a voice from somewhere that would tell me what was going on. And I thought, I wish this was my whole life. But it was to be on the Super Bowl episode made me feel that much closer to the Super Bowl, which I have never been to. And it was...
Can I say, we don't know where it is this year, right?
People know. Vegas.
It's in Vegas?
Yeah.
Do you want to go to the Super Bowl?
Oh, now I'm afraid. If we went to the Super Bowl together, but in Las Vegas, we'd leave poor.
Yes. But it won't be the first time.
There are many holes in the official story, and the media's coverage only makes things more confusing. Early reports, like one from CBS, didn't say much about Matthew Perry's cardiac arrest. Instead, they focused on him drowning and his past of drug abuse, even though no drugs were found at the scene. This way of looking at things made Perry seem like a sad addict who got away and didn't care about the criminal network that his death had revealed. Why is everyone so quick to blame Perry's past instead of the people who gave him the drugs? Even though the autopsy showed that he did not have any booze, cocaine, or other illegal drugs in his system, the media focused a lot on the story that he was addicted. Besides the opioids he used to treat his problem, what about the other drug? That was named as a factor? In any case, it treats opiate addiction. It does not, as some news stories said, lead to overdoses. They worked hard to make him look like a broken-down star who had nothing left to offer and was only taking drugs and was a heavy user. That's what most people think about the story. He had been clean for a long time, though. At the very end, just before he died, out of the blue, he started getting ketamine injections from an underground, I guess, highly organized group that was putting this together. They are now trying to erase any proof of this. There must be something wrong with this picture, because these people are also said to have ties to the illegal drug scene in Hollywood, giving drugs like ketamine and other substances to many celebs through doctors and other people. They have been asked if it is a form of mind control or if they are part of something bigger. We don't have proof yet, but
Department spokesperson previously told E! News officials found a, quote, adult male unconscious in a standalone hot tub after responding to an emergency call at the time. LAFD Captain Eric Scott said on October 30th, a bystander had brought the man's head above the water and gotten him to the edge. Then firefighters removed him from the water upon their arrival. A rapid medical assessment sadly revealed the man was deceased prior to first responder arrival. In the year before his passing, Matthew released his memoir called Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. In the book, he opened up about his brief romance with Roberts. Perry revealed on the page that the two started dating shortly after Julia signed on to guest star on the 90s sitcom. However, he wrote that the Pretty Woman actress, quote, would only do the show if she could be in my storyline, adding that he had to woo her. Perry said he sent Roberts 36 roses and a note that read, "The only thing more exciting than the prospect of you doing the show is that I finally have an excuse to send you flowers." The pair then began what Matthew explained was a 3-month-long courtship by sending each other faxes, and their platonic relationship quickly evolved into a romantic one. However, Perry soon let his own thoughts get the best of him, and he ended his relationship with Roberts just 2 months later. He admitted in the book, "Dating Julia Roberts had been too much for me. I had been constantly certain that she was going to break up with me. Why would she not? I was not enough. I could never be enough. I was broken, bent, unlovable. So instead of facing the inevitable agony of losing her, I broke up with the beautiful and brilliant Julia Roberts."
Matthew Perry's death isn't just a tragedy. It's a screaming
Matthew
indictment
Perry's
of a
death
world
is
that
not only
chews
sad,
up its brightest
but
star
it's also a
and
loud
then spits them
condemnation
out.
of a world
The
that eats
official
up and
story
then
of an
throws out its greatest
accidental overdose
stars.
crumbles
The official
under
story of an
scrutiny,
accidental
revealing a web of
overdose
greed,
falls apart when you
betrayal,
look more
and
closely.
unanswered questions
It shows a web
that
of
the
greed,
media refuses to
betrayal,
investigate.
and open questions
From
that the
shady
media won't
doctors
look
to
into.
a living
Question:
assistant
why
that was
did they supposedly
helping to
want
pump
Matthew
him full
Perry
of
to
drugs
disappear?
when he was clean
There
and
were
sober?
sketchy doctors and a living
Why did
assistant
they
who
want
helped him get
Matthew
drugs when he
Perry
was sober.
to disappear?
When did he die?
Allegedly.
It
Why
was
was his
Julia
death
Roberts'
on
birthday,
Julia
and she was
Roberts'
just making her
birthday,
big comeback.
right when she made her big
It came out
comeback,
a little more
and
than a
it was
month after
released, the
Matthew Perry
movie,
died.
a little over
Hey
a month
guys,
later.
how are you?
After Matthew Perry
I don't know if I'm
died,
reaching or
the movie
stretching
was
here.
released.
Tell me in the
Guys,
comments.
I could be
I am
reaching
going
here,
to
I
start
could be
telling you
stretching.
about some of
I
these
don't know.
conspiracy
You let me know
ideas
in the
and
comments.
looking
But
into
I
these
want to start
stories,
bringing you
though.
some of these conspiracy
What do we really
theories
know?
and digging into
What's going
these
on?
stories. Like, what do we know?
And some of
What's
these,
going
though,
on?
guys, just so
And
you
some
know,
of these, though,
I'm
guys,
being
just so
blocked
you know,
even
on
during
this
this
Diddy
Diddy
trial,
trial.
I am
Videos will
getting
be
censored.
removed
Like,
and won't be
videos
able to
will be
make any
taken
money
down,
from them at
they'll be
all.
completely
I have
demonetized
no idea
or
why.
restricted. I don't know
You're not hearing
why.
anything
I'm not saying
crazy.
anything crazy.
I'm
I'm
just telling you what's
reporting
going on or asking you questions.
So
I'm going
something
to
that
do
I'm
something.
going to do,
In case you
if
didn't
you guys don't know,
my mom died about 2 weeks ago.
my mom passed
I've
away
talked about it on my
about
other
2 weeks
site and on
ago.
social media, but not here.
Haven't
My
talked
mother
about
and
it
I
here.
were
talked
very
about it on my
close,
other channel
so
and
I don't
a
want to
little bit on
talk about
social
it here
media,
because
but
I need to
I
keep
don't
my
want to get
mind
into
off
it
of things
here
right
'cause I
now.
am trying
But
to
I'll be releasing my
stay
Patreon when I
busy
get
right
back
now.
from
Keep
seeing my
mind
family
busy,
and her
'cause
funeral
my
this
mother and I were
week.
very close. But
There we'll talk about
when
some
I
of
get
these more
back
mysterious
from
stories,
seeing my
ask
family,
questions,
having her
and
funeral,
maybe
which is
even have a
upcoming
live
this
stream
week,
where we can talk
I am
freely
going
about
to
some of
be
these
releasing my
conspiracies.
Patreon. We're on there.
We're not
We
just
are
talking
going to
about
discuss
celebrities,
some of these
Hollywood, or the
deeper
music
stories, ask
business.
questions, maybe
We're
do a live
talking
stream over there where we
about
could
the
talk
government,
freely
government
about some of these
agencies,
conspiracies,
mind
not just
control,
around
MK
celebrities
Ultra,
or
and
Hollywood
more.
or the music
I
industry.
think we need
But
to
we're
start
talking about with the
unpacking because the
government,
list is so
government
long.
entities,
Leave a comment
CIA,
below
mind
and let me know
control,
what you
MK
think
Ultra,
about
like the
that.
list goes on
If
and
you
on.
want to
But I
join my
think we need to start
Patreon when I get
unpacking.
back,
So
please
leave a
do
comment
so.
below. Let me
In
know
any
what you think
case,
about that.
guys,
If you would be
I'm
interested
sorry
in
I
joining
said that.
my
I just
my
like being
Patreon
honest about
when
what's
I get
going
back.
on.
And
I'm still going to
anyway,
keep
guys,
shooting because,
I
as
didn't
I
mean to tell
said,
that, but I like to
it
be
keeps my
transparent
mind
about what's
busy
going
and on
So,
task. If I
I will
don't,
still be filming
I
because, like
lose
I
it.
said, it keeps my
As a
mind
result, you will
occupied
see
and
me
focused.
post
Because
these
otherwise,
videos
I
all
fall
week
apart.
long as I report on the Diddy
So you will
trial
be
and
seeing
other
me pump out these videos
investigations.
all through the week with the
Keep
Diddy
an eye
trial
out,
and more
subscribe,
investigative
and
reports.
hit the bell too. Let me know when I post something new. I'll see you soon.